what I found is that when we feel we're not good enough, we're not lovable, or there's a void inside of us, or we have to prove to God that we're good enough in order to get his love, that we do the same things with ourselves, and therefore we project and do the same things to other people. What I found for myself through psychedelic experiences, great challenges where I was in the depths of hell, that the only thing I had was the love that I was able to give to myself.
Welcome to this edition of the Brian Bajan podcast, if that's what we're going to call it. I haven't come up with anything else other than maybe Brian Bajan's True Courage podcast. That could be it. I've got a new awesome friend here today, a new guest, Trentimuss. And he's a men's dating coach, but with a really beautiful perspective. You know, we talk about letting go of the tricks and techniques and being more embodied with dating. Trentamus comes from a very spiritual background, being Christian, and especially a really open-minded Christian, I think is beautiful, and helping a lot of Christian men and spiritual men find their life partner, somebody that they can really have that bond with the rest of their life. I think it's a beautiful mission. We've been trading messages since I got here, and I took a look at his Instagram and what he was talking about, and I just liked who he was being. So I decided to invite him in, and I also found out that, like everybody in this town, everybody knows each other, so people knew him already when I brought up his name, so I thought that was hilarious. I got to dinner in this town, and people walk up to it's like, it's a big town, but everybody knows each other. Yes. It's like amazing.
There's such a communal feel. People really appreciate each other, want to support each other, be genuine friends, and it's really beautiful.
Okay, how come this town, all the roads go like this, and there's no straight lines anywhere? You're constantly lost, and there's construction on every street. Right?
Street, yes.
It drives me nuts, but hey, it's part of life.
Yeah, it's worth it.
So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian.
Seems good to have you. We're diving right in. This is almost like our first conversation, conversation.
Perfect.
What drove you down this path of wanting to work with men in an open heart? You're very open-hearted. I mean, I can feel it sitting here. There's this big, it's what I call it. I always talk to everybody about the embodiment of the heart. Really being able to feel your heart, open your heart, walk with an open heart. And then not only that, but be able to let people into your heart so you can feel their emotions.
Yes.
As they feel yours, you feel theirs. And that's how you really get to know who somebody is.
Yeah.
And I think being a Christian, since you're teaching this stuff from the Christian perspective, when I think about that, see, I'm already jumping from my original question. That's Jesus. That's what Jesus was really teaching, was that open-hearted, feel everybody, love everybody.
Yes.
Didn't mean that you have to be a nice guy, but love everybody kind of way. Do you agree?
I do. I really do. And answer both questions. The reason how I came about this was going through hell, just over and over and over and over again, and just God continually cracking me open and saying, you're meant for more. You're meant for great things. And for so long, I'm like, what did I do wrong? Why is my life so challenging? I couldn't get date a woman to save my life. All my friends picked on me, made fun of me. You went through that too?
I went through all that, yeah.
Crazy. And I had really low self-esteem. Underneath, at my core, I didn't feel I was lovable or worthy or good enough. And so I just created a lot of challenge in my life, and a lot of mess.
I love the way you said that. I created.
Yes.
A lot of challenge in my life.
I did.
Nice. And radical ownership.
It is, yeah. And radical. I was a victim for a really long time in the beginning. It was all everyone else's fault, and it's not mine. I'm perfect, and oh boy, was that wrong. And I've also come to realize that everything we experience, I believe, is something that we create. And generally it's for us to choose who we really are. And so for me, I had chosen, like on a video game where you can choose, easy, medium, hard, or expert. I chose expert in this life so that everything's more challenging, but I also have the opportunity to grow more. And for the longest time, I thought, God, what did I do wrong? Why are so many things happening to me that are challenging? Dad dying of cancer, mom being, in the mental hospital, for attempted suicide when he died, in and out.
My mom went in the hospital too for attempted suicide.
It's crazy.
Yeah. She was bipolar, borderline, and narcissistic.
Well, congratulations.
She wasn't diagnosed borderline, but looking back, I'm sure. So sorry, Mom. I love you. She's passed away, and she was a little Buddha when she passed away. I sat there with her until she. This is my redemption for saying that, but she literally watched her in hospice care, let everything go, and become this sweet angel before she left this earth.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, this is the mom I've always wanted.
That's it. I'm glad you got that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got that. I believe that they play out characters and roles for us. We're all intertwining in order to create and choose who we really are. And so once I started to realize that, life started to really open up. Like, why is this happening for me? And instead of to me. And the to me for a really long time created chaos and challenge. And then, there was drugs, addictions, suicide attempts.
Hardcore drugs? Like,
not quite. No heroin or meth really, but I took pills a lot. I really liked prescription.
So party drugs, not necessarily psychedelics you're talking about.
Oh yeah, psychedelics as well.
Okay.
I love those, yeah.
Okay.
And so I just, through all of those things, God kept telling me, your life will be beautiful. I promise you, it will be worth it. And I remember quite a few times saying, F you, God, even out loud. There's no way.
I did that too.
Did you? And he's like, one day it will be worth it. I promise you. And today is one of those days that reminds me that it is all worth it. Being here with you, living in a beautiful lake house, having incredible friends. I have a date with a very beautiful, wonderful woman tonight after this.
Nice.
So it broke my heart open over and over. That was always inside of me, like you, that have my experience is that you always were that beautiful man inside of you as a boy, and then life happened for you in order to crack it open, to really integrate as the man you are, and now actually caring about other people, actually wanting to make a big difference in this world by being the best true version of yourself.
And now, do you notice a difference between, because I think what you just said there is really powerful. First off, I love that you said breaking your heart open, because I personally think grief is repressed love. And if you really get in touch with your grief, it turns into love, And this whole idea of caring about other people, I see so many people caring about other people because it's the new age thing to do, or the spirit, or even the Christian thing to do, but they don't mean it.
Right.
And then that's where Christianity sometimes gets its bad name. There's this little FU in the background of their way they do it.
Yes.
And
and if you're not doing it the way the book says, then I can't love you. I can't be around you. And I can't.
You're not part of the club.
Yes, I can't trust you. And I feel like that's one of the biggest challenges in the world right now. God didn't say that. If you don't believe in me and do what I say, then I'm not going to love you, or I'm going to condemn you. That's the opposite of what he said. Yeah. He said, no matter who you are, I love you. No matter what you've done, I love you. Come and be with me.
It makes me think about the parables where Jesus, or the teachings where Jesus was hanging out with the sinners and the tax collectors and the prostitutes, and everybody's like, what's he doing? And he's like, these are the people that need me. I'm going to hang out with them.
That's it.
Yeah. And love them. Not just hang out with them and lecture to them, but love them.
Yes.
And I think that's the key distinction. People picture him lecturing, right?
You really hit on something there, Brian. What I found is that when we feel we're not good enough, we're not lovable, or there's a void inside of us, or we have to prove to God that we're good enough in order to get his love, that we do the same things with ourselves, and therefore we project and do the same things to other people.
So brilliantly said.
And that what I found for myself through psychedelic experiences, great challenges where I was in the depths of hell, that the only thing I had was the love that I was able to give to myself. And I realized that I'm the only person that will ever be by my side my whole life. And so from going from that nice guy into I'm the only person I can really trust or have a relationship with. And love, I will only be able to rely on the love I give to myself. That's the only thing I can truly rely on ever. I can't rely on other people. I can't rely on anything, but I can rely on the love I give to myself. When I realized that, it changed everything. It opened everything up. And then I was truly able to give love to others without expectation, because we can only give what we have, right? And so me giving that to myself was like filling up a well that then was overflowing, and I don't need anything from anyone. And once I realized that and truly integrated it, life started to completely become everything I wanted it to be.
Yeah, I experienced the same thing. I looked at it a little differently, but same basic idea. When I was trying to give love to myself, it didn't quite work until I started letting, and I realized I had to let God love me first. And for some of you out there that aren't Christian, I mean, it's God's God. Doesn't matter if you see yourself as Christian or not. And that's the way I saw it. I was like, I just let, or source, God, theos, and Greek, love me. And once I did that, I was like, well, I don't need a reason to be loved. Now I get what they mean by just accept them in. I was like, oh, I don't need a reason to be loved. I don't need a reason to be special. I don't need to go do anything. I can just be loved if I just let it in. And there was a sense of it downloading into my body. And then like a hose, I could give it away.
That's it. That's exactly it.
And so it was an amazing transformation after that.
Like, that reminds me, I've watched a client I have. He's an incredible man. He is a man that's attracted to men. He's a Republican and a Christian. And his father is a pastor. And he's been trying to reveal God's love his whole life. He's 38 years old. The other day, I walked him through, in our session, the same thing, receiving love from self. And then he cracked open to receive love from God. And just tears were rolling down his face. And he said, I've never felt God's love that profoundly in my life. And that's it. And I love the message you sent to me about the intention of this podcast for people to know that.
Yeah.
That when we open up to that love inside to receive from God as well as to ourselves, and open our heart, that everything that we desire comes to us from that place.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of, now, do you remember the moment do you remember the moment you started experiencing things coming to you easily versus a fight? Because I remember in the beginning, you probably experienced this too. So you told me in the beginning, everything I tried to work towards ran away from me.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it was a woman. Doesn't matter if it was money. I go to try to make money. I made less, and unless my back was against the wall and I had to fight tooth and nail, and sometimes I could figure it out, but then it would crash again. Then I started to get stronger and I was able to make money, but it was still a fight, but I was able to consistently make money. And I got all the way up to like $30,000 a month, the highest I'd ever made in a business. And then after that, I just crashed. I couldn't take it anymore because I was pushing so hard. Rock stars, energy drinks every day, just pump, state pump, pump myself up, crash. And then when I healed from that and got to the other side and finally fully said the dark night of the soul, surrender, it was shocking how fast things started just falling in. And it was like I was being given all this stuff I always wanted with minimal effort. You remember that moment in your life?
It's been cycles and waves. It's a great question. Really, honestly, I'd say it started about 2 years ago. Went through a huge dark night of the soul. I, for years, was using women to fill the void I felt inside of me.
Did that too.
Didn't you? And I got canceled hard.
By a woman or by
multiple.
Oh, interesting.
Many. And they all got together and they said he took advantage of us. He pretended like he cared. He was nice. He made us feel like the most important person in the world. He slept with us and then he left as if we meant nothing to him.
Interesting.
And there was like a case there with the police and detectives, and I'd flown to Bali and unrelated, And they're like, he left to avoid charges. And I was seeing all these posts and getting calls and messages and friends from years. And they were sending it to my family, my grandma, my mom. It was horrible. And I just crashed. It was the worst thing I could ever imagine going through, being accused of these things.
Yeah, I could imagine. I would have been devastated. I didn't have that.
I'm glad. I'm glad you didn't.
I was always very honest. I don't want a relationship. This is just us fooling around, really clear. So.
I was too.
But I needed a girl every night, different girls.
That's why you learned the path, which I'd love to dive into too.
Yeah.
And that was the same thing. I wanted to feel loved because underneath I didn't feel lovable. And that I would use the women as validation. And even though I was very open, communicative, clear, honest with them, which I felt we were on the same page, my actions spoke differently. I would act as if they were a girlfriend, even though our communication were just casual. And so I almost took my own life.
Wow. You hit dark. You hit bottom.
I even took out a life insurance policy that would cover suicide.
Really? I didn't even know they had such a thing. That's crazy.
Yep.
I'm surprised.
I knew my friend had sold them. So I called and I got one. And I waited the 3 months and I had a plan to make it look like an accident.
And your friend didn't ask what was going on here?
No. I don't know if I asked her specifically, but I knew it was in the paperwork.
Okay.
And so I had the plan, and I realized I had to do better, that I had another option of choosing to grow and to be a better man and to do better and to be more clear, and then also help other men do the same, because there were men like me that were causing harm even though I thought I was doing good, even though I thought I was helping them and being honest and being a good man. And so that's when I decided to do the work and then help men in order to really to show up and be committed to a partner. I'll also add, I was in a relationship with a woman, beautiful, gorgeous, incredible, secure, attachment style, loyal, loving.
This was before or after?
During.
Okay.
And I told her in the beginning, it was kind of before, during, and even a little after. I told her about what was happening, and I said, I totally get if you don't want to go through this, and if I just want to let you know before it gets to you so that you can make your own choice. And she said, I'll make my own choice. I'll get to see for myself and then choose from there. And she was so amazing. And she stuck by me through so much. And that helped me heal, to feel love of this woman, and to feel the commitment, and also holding me high too. She wouldn't just let me be a boy, and she would really hold me to the highest standard of myself. And between those two things and doing the work, it opened everything up. And then recently, now that I feel in alignment and I feel myself out of alignment, very clearly, I'm sure as you do, you just know when you do a thing that isn't really, I'll say it for myself, I know when I do a thing that isn't really who I am right now.
Yeah.
And the life I'm creating. And now that I've become aware of that and I stay in it, when I do, everything comes into place effortlessly.
It does. It's just sometimes it's just weird in a good way.
It is.
I do have a couple questions. Where is this beautiful woman today?
So she's in Boise, Idaho.
My sister lives
in Boise.
She lives in Nampa.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. And so we had a couple of things that we wanted to make it work. And one is she's already had 2 beautiful kids. They're amazing. And another is that she wants to stay and they want to stay. And so does she in Boise. Mm-hmm. I'd lived in Boise for 18 years. I feel like it's not my place. I feel like Austin is my place. And so I want kids and I want to live here. She doesn't want kids and she wants to live there. So we we're now really good friends.
Good.
And did a conscious uncoupling. And
well, I definitely want to hear about that, but I have another question first. But
yes,
I want to hear about the conscious uncoupling.
Yes.
So what about a young man or men who, there are men out there who have, that I know personally have dated a lot of women, explored sex, sexuality, and didn't end up in the state you're in. What was different about what you did versus what some of these men do?
Gosh, that's a good question. That's one I've asked myself a lot. I feel like a part of it was innate in my heart. I just always cared for people. I always felt like there was something unique and special about me as a little boy. And that I just wanted to always do better. It's a question that almost stumps me.
What I find, the situation you were in, I find, did you have a lot of nice guy syndrome?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I find nice guys end up in that situation.
Yes.
Because they don't quite tell the truth. They imply and say and infer that they really want a real long-term committed relationship while doing something else.
Yep.
And it really confuses the women.
Yep.
And so luckily I got that clear early, and so I tried working really hard on being super clear.
Mm-hmm. Smart.
I remember getting blunter and blunter about it when I was dating. I remember one girl going, "Hey, will you be my boyfriend?" No. Just go, "Nope, not gonna happen." Damn it. She'd go, "Damn it." She'd laugh. She'd go, "Okay." She goes, I want a boyfriend. Set me up with somebody. Yeah. She was so awesome. She's an amazing woman. I didn't tell her this at the time because I thought she was amazing. We were destructive together. We were out partying too much. And I was like, together we will destroy each other. Yeah. And I said, no, in my mind, but I don't want to try to change you, so I'm not going to tell you why.
Smart.
And at that time, we're both need to heal. She turned her whole life around. She's now, she's Christian herself. She stopped drinking. She stopped partying. She got all cleaned up. She got herself an awesome boyfriend. She became a fitness nut instead of a drinker. Yeah. And I'm like, look at her go, man. Maybe I was an idiot.
Yeah, you're like, damn it, what did I do? When they got away. Yeah. I always wonder if the growth would have happened with or without the relationship. You know, the same growth with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It happened the way it was supposed to happen in the end, yeah.
Definitely hit that nice guy for a bit and didn't want to hurt people.
Yeah. But by trying to avoid it and not being really radically honest, we tend to do it unconsciously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And just hearing the hurt that I caused really helped wake me up. It's been some of the biggest wake up moments is someone saying, you hurt me. And seeing my unconscious mind, I always tell men, we're most susceptible to two things, women and our own bullshit. And I got to see my own bullshit I was susceptible to by the hurt that I had caused of women. And
well, everything that happened, do you agree that everything that happens in the world is just a reflection of what's going on inside of you?
I do.
It's to show you something?
I've, at first in my spiritual days, I thought that was just a cool saying. I kind of believed it. And now I've seen it too many times to deny it.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into this other thing you said that was so conscious uncoupling.
Mm-hmm.
I almost said unconscious uncoupling.
Yeah,
conscious uncoupling.
Yeah.
I'm curious what that is.
Yeah, I'm noticing conscious uncoupling is just you get in a fight and then you break up and you move on. Generally, both people are with someone.
And then
else.
You find a bunch of reasons to be mad at that person and tell everybody why they're a bad person.
Yeah, talk crap on them, move on quickly to someone else. And so we really love each other. We really care for each other. We became each other's best friends. We went through a lot. We traveled the world together. I was family with their family and vice versa. I came close with their wonderful kids. So it was something really special there. We did Christmases, and so when we tried and tried and tried to make it work. And we just had to come to the realization, no matter how much we love each other and want it to work, we just hadn't.
And sometimes that happens. Sometimes a person's amazing.
Yes.
Two people are amazing. They're just not amazing together for whatever reason.
Yeah.
At least not in a relationship.
Yeah. She's such a loyal, wonderful woman that I know I could call her till the day I die and she'll answer the phone. And I wanted to keep that relationship. And for the first time to create something beautiful and healing of an ending. And so...
Is this something you came up with or you learned about?
I did both. I had learned about it and had also knew that this is what I wanted to do with her.
Awesome.
And so just speaking to it, communicating it, like, okay, obviously we can't make this work. You know, we've tried. How about we let things go with intention? How about, because we care a lot about each other. I want you, my intention from the beginning, pretty much with everyone I meet, is how can I leave this person better than when I met them? Because there's been so many times I did the opposite. And so especially with this woman. And so I knew this time was very potent and important for us to keep that and actually honor that intention. And so communicating just very much openly, what do you need? This is sharing what I needed. And taking time to not go right into dating someone else or trying to fill the void again, and to honor the space of our relationship. It was beautiful. And I took, I think, over 6 months to date. I will say I messed up in the beginning of one of our breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And this hot barista came over. I was working. She wrote her number down. We had crazy, wild, great sex. A couple days after we broke up.
And that was fast. She showed right up.
It was, yeah. And I thought we were done forever. I really did, or I wouldn't have. And then this woman and I came back together about a week later, a few days after, and I told her later, and she was so mad and upset with me. And I saw the hurt I caused in her. And I love this woman so much, I never wanted to cause that again. So when we tried things again, and then separated later, I honored myself and her by taking space and time to date at all. And that was, so there was a few key ingredients to really let things go and consciously uncouple to where now we have a relationship where we still talk. I did tell her, hey, I have to create space for at least 3 months to not talk because there's so much love there that it was hard for me to let go and move on.
Oh yeah, the heart has to heal.
Yes.
You can really care and love somebody. I just recently lost somebody in my life that I care about a lot, and I needed that space, and she's an amazing person, but I, and I think she did too.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to do that. It's called being human.
And
the art of letting go is a true art. You gotta sometimes learn. Letting go isn't always in an instant. It takes time. And letting go doesn't mean you never see the person again. It just means you're letting go of the attachment.
Sometimes it's difficult but important as the man to lead that.
Yeah,
to make,
so well said.
To make the sacrifice. I had a teacher once tell me, just because you can, Trentimuss, doesn't mean you should.
Just because you can what?
Yeah. And so in this context was dating years ago, but I've used that ever since then. And there were times that I felt like I could make things work with this woman or try again.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that I should.
Yeah.
And so leading that as the man and saying, hey.
Okay, let me ask you a relation, since you really focus on relationships. Do you subscribe to the idea that a lot of people say that relationships are tough, relationships are hard work, but if you dig in, you work hard, you can make something beautiful out of it? Or I've been hearing this from some relationship people to lately, that when you actually find the right person, it's not tough. And that most people are so afraid to let go, they don't ever let it, they don't wait and find their actual right person.
Yeah. I know a lot of men that have.
I think you have to be healed first, personally.
Yes,
but
I was just going to say that, yeah. I know a lot of men that have settled, men that they would date a woman that they weren't necessarily very attracted to or felt like was at the quality and level that they wanted a long-term partner, but they felt more safe in the relationship. And then when they would find someone that was at a higher caliber because they weren't whole inside themselves, they felt insecure and afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And women are growing, as I'm sure you've seen. Women are leveling up. They are evolving. They are becoming incredible beings.
I'm seeing two groups of women. The women that are leveling up and the ones that are going in the direction of, I want my 6'5" Chad.
Yes.
Making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year, you know, and he's got to take care of me and I don't have to cook, you know, that. Yeah. And I'm going to be on OnlyFans, and that's a different group of women. But there's a whole other group of women that I find that those guys that are interviewing those women don't interview. Those women don't even want to be on their show.
No. And those are the women that are becoming whole. They're knowing their wholeness.
Yeah.
There isn't becoming whole. There's realizing we are whole.
This other group, not the OnlyFans.
Yes. Yeah. We'll call them third way women.
Yeah.
Right? And so these third way women.
Third way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
At first I thought you said third wave. I was like, third wave? Third way. Like David Data.
Yes, exactly. Third way men, third way women.
Yeah.
They're holding men to a higher caliber. They're realizing their wholeness. And for me, that to have a beautiful relationship is two whole people coming together and knowing that they're whole, and having done the work to integrate a lot of the parts of them that felt like they weren't good enough, lovable, capable, safe. And that, to me, is a relationship that has the possibility of something absolutely beautiful. Now, there's going to be work. There's going to be mirroring where we still get to tune places inside of us. And there's still, to me, that doing that work before getting in the relationship is going to make it so much better than having to work it out while in the relationship.
I brought this up the other day. You know who Gay Hendricks is?
Yes.
Upper limit problem?
Yeah, Big Leap.
Yeah, a big leap. I always say upper limit problem is the problem. I always call the book the upper limit problem, but it's the big leap. For all of you who got that wrong on several podcasts, I apologize on this one. He said in there, you know, he was talking about, it was either in that book or one of his subsequent books, he was talking about how he met his wife. He'd been through several relationships, didn't quite work, didn't quite get what he wanted, got what he wanted out of the relationship. And I can't remember the exact words he used, but he started going up to women that he thought could possibly be his future wife. And he would say, you know, and he would just get really blunt. And he would say, look, I'm really interested in you. I want to get to know you better. And I'd love to take you on a date, but I'm only interested in a highly conscious relationship where we work to build something really powerful together. And I can't remember the exact words, but it was really intense what he said, really committed. And we really dig in together. And you know, I don't know how I would say it, but we really dig in together and create something super conscious together. If you're not interested in creating something like that with a man, or with me particularly, you know, then I wouldn't be interested.
Smart.
And I was like, oh my God, that is how the way he said it was gold, way better than the way I said it. I was like, oh my God, that is so powerful of an introduction.
I bet women loved it.
He said a lot of women they had to think about it, you know, and then they were interested, right? Yeah. It hits them kind of hard.
I had like, who is this man? I bet they've never been approached that way at all, or had maybe a man communicate in that way ever before.
Yeah, it's a massive disqualification right up front. You have to fit in these little parameters. If you're still trying to figure it out, you're not sure who you are, all this stuff, then I'm not interested. Oh, shit.
It's weird. How long did it take him before he met his wife doing that?
That's a good question. I do remember he was referring to when he approached his wife, and that's exactly what he said to her, and that's how he found her. I do know that.
Yeah.
And they've been married ever since. They're still married. And he says it's been great. He says they've had a great relationship.
I found that in the men I work with, getting so clear on what you want. First, getting clear on who you are. Sometimes getting clear on what you want, and then seeing where you're not matching that in oneself. What are the values that you want in a woman, and how are you doing with those values yourself? So having them really look at that mirror, and then getting so clear in themselves, as well as if the woman isn't, I have them write out a must-have list and a preferences list. And if the woman, that way they know, if they come to see the woman and she's attractive and they go on a couple of dates, but sometimes the mind, you know, the most susceptible to mind and women are all mind and women. So that way they get it while it's clear, and then they start going on dates with these women, and then they know if these women have the must-haves. And if they don't, I say, let it go. If you're really ready, you have to let the things go and make that sacrifice in order to really call in your one and do the work to get there. Actually, my friend Charles Clay, Amazing, man. I saw him go through this years ago. So I'm doing the work. So I'm saying no to beautiful, gorgeous women that were like, hey, just want to have sex with you. And he's like, I want that, but I want my wife more. And so I'm going to say no and thank you. And then he just kept calling it in and calling it in.
Yeah.
And then she came, and now they have 3 beautiful kids and a wonderful life.
Yeah, because if you say yes, you're saying, you know, she can't quite get in there. First off, you're out with other women.
Yes.
That's time you could be going out with a woman that could be your wife.
Yes.
That's one. And two, you're telling God that I'm still okay with this other stuff, you know, and it's really interesting. My friend Joel said the same thing recently. He's also a really good coach. And he said that's how he met his wife. He got really picky and knew exactly what he wanted. And he'd go out. He said, I went on a date with probably the most beautiful woman I'd ever dated. And everybody thought, my God, you hit the jackpot. Within 2 dates, I knew she wasn't the right woman.
Yeah.
And I told her, and my friends were like, you're crazy. And he's like, no, I had to tell her, I see where this is going, been down this road before, and I don't want to go there. And I let her go. And this is such an interesting thing, because how many guys go out thinking, and I've thought about this a lot, thinking it's our job to win the girl over.
Right.
It's our job to impress her, and they don't even know if they like her yet. They haven't even stopped to say, is she even my type of woman? No, I got to impress her. That's my job.
Right.
And the girls go, oh, you blew it. Blew what? I don't even know you yet. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do. I see men that put their validation, like I had, sounds like you had as well. It's just like, how can I impress in order to get what I want? Mm-hmm. Instead, this is who I am. This is what I want. And seeing each and every person as beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like seeing God in every single person.
Even the ones you say no to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And being clear in, I have men also ask, how do you know so quickly? I could know on the first date. It's just a feeling and an awareness, really. And then just being willing to say no. I wonder how your friend Joel, after he said no to that beautiful woman, how did he say how much longer it was after that he met his wife?
No, but I could ask him. You know, he's I'm sure, I can't imagine it was too long. I mean, I don't know, but that's a good question. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask him that. I'm kind of curious. I'll let you know.
I'd like to know, because I'm wondering if it was soon after that.
Oh, yeah, he became very dedicated. Now, it sounds like you're both, because Joel also is a big teacher of the attachment styles. Mm-hmm. He loves the attachment styles. Are you an attachment styles guy?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. What were you for a while?
I was definitely fearful avoidant. I would go anxious, and youth I was more anxious. Then I got more avoidant as I got older, but I would definitely see both come up. You know, it was pretty chaotic childhood. And then you know who Thais? I think her name's Thais Gibson. She has a YouTube channel. Really deep work on the attachment styles. If I'm getting her name wrong, maybe we can post it on here, but Thais was her first name. And she is apparently trained Joel in the attachment styles.
Perfect.
But she's got the personal development schools, her YouTube channel.
It's changed my life knowing those. And I remember being in this relationship that I was very disorganized. So the way that what I was, same, where it was both. Mm-hmm. And if I wasn't that attracted to the woman, I was avoidant. If I was very attracted to them, I was anxious.
You were kind of she would call that a fearful avoidant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And
we are typically, she says, we're the most damaged. Fearful avoidant. Yeah.
Well, and the most opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
Right? Because now I feel much more secure, and there is a way to heal that. Yeah. And there's gold in doing that. And also the willingness to go through that much challenge in order to do that growth, and then be able to have that gold to give to others and walk the path and say, I've been there, walk with me, let's walk arm in arm and show you what's possible.
And when you meet somebody anxious attached, you can relate. When you meet somebody fearful avoidant,
exactly.
You can, or avoidant, basically.
Exactly.
You can relate.
It's one of the gifts that God's given me through going through all I have, that I get to really relate with each person I can sit in front of and have genuine compassion for them, because I've developed genuine compassion for each part of myself.
Well, that's really the key to happiness in life, don't you think? It's having compassion for everybody.
Very much so.
Yeah.
The war, that's what I feel the world needs most right now, is compassion for another.
Okay, let me ask you a question. When a lot of people hear this, they think of this new age compassion where you give everybody hugs to make them feel better. And you tell everybody it'll be okay. Give them all a trophy.
Right.
How do you see it?
Oh, I love that perspective. I'm talking with this woman, beautiful woman, and she actually worked with, was it RDE? Who was the old school pickup artists?
Oh, RSD.
RSD, yep. She worked with them for a while. She's one of their models, and she saw one of my events. She reached out and said, hey, I'd love to meet. Met her. She was gorgeous, just long, beautiful legs, heels, tall, blonde, blue eyes. And
made me wonder if I knew her.
probably too.
You know, I've had a lot of models that I've worked with, but I don't remember if any of them worked for RSD.
Yep.
So.
She has a doctorate in neuroscience, and just high-end, wonderful woman. So
Later you'll have to tell me her name.
Yes. So then we started talking, and she's like, hey, I recognize you follow this person, but not this person as far as politics go. I'm like, oh, okay. So we started talking, and she was saying all the concerns that she had, and this person's that, and this candidate's that, and it started to get a little heated, a little friction was there. We went from just hanging out talking about business to then looking at dating. So that's why things changed, and she was looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I did is I said, hey, look, I completely hear you. And I bet you that we have the same desires and values for all people. But underneath it, even though we have different political views, that we want the same thing underneath. That's safety for all people to be respected and have choice. And we met at that level instead of the on the surface level. And so I feel like when we see a human as someone important, that is a child of God, that deserves all great things, and what we're really desiring underneath it is to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel celebrated. And when we realize that on the finest level, that for me, it helps me to truly be open to others and their political views. Now, there's also boundaries. There's the feminine of accepting and loving, and then there's the masculine of don't cross this line. Yeah. Do not come at me with attacking me in any sort of way. I will not allow it. But you want to have a conversation about this, that's fine. There's also holding ourselves and each other accountable to a level that helps us support the world and having the things that we need and desire most.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered.
Yeah, it does. I believe that men, exactly, paternal. Men know how to be paternal. They know how to say no. They know how to set a boundary. But they can do, if you're loving, you do it with an open heart. Mm-hmm. Like when you discipline a child, you never stop loving the child.
Yes.
You keep your heart open during the discipline. So I think so many parents miss that. They don't know how to keep their heart open to that. And so much abandonment happens that way. But when you keep your heart open, that child feels safer, and even in sometimes the punishment.
That's it.
Because they feel structure.
That's it.
Yeah.
One of the greatest pieces that I've learned, or methods, or whatever you want to call it, that's changed my life, is starting to lead the conversation in my mind more than I listen. Because I used to just listen thinking whatever voice came in my mind, the words were just what I had to go along with.
Interesting way to put it.
And then I realized, I can actually lead it. And the greatest piece of advice I've ever been given is lead your mind more than you listen. And when I started doing that in a way of inner parenting, and almost like the divine mother, father figure, that my mind no longer says negative things to me at all, when that used to be the number one thing I would hear in my own mind. You're such a piece of ... Yeah. And now what I do is whenever that comes in, which is rare, I have fun with it, and I call it cutie pie. So the judge and jury that comes in our mind, I'll see it as more objective. I'm like, hey, cutie pie, how's your day? Oh, I missed you too. It's like, you did this. And I'm like, oh, cutie pie, I love you too. What do you need right now? Give me a hug. Right? And I just like imagine him scooping it up, giving this big loving hug. And then I bring in the father. Like, hey, what do you need? You're safe. I got you. I'm not going anywhere. What do you need right now? How can I support you? And sometimes when I did the thing that wasn't my best version of self, and I believe in you to do better. I believe in you to know how loved you are and how safe you are and to do great things. Because that's who you are. That's my son.
Do you think that based on what you just said, do you think the ego, the mind, is like your first child that you have to raise?
Yes. Yeah. Because that...
You have to teach it how to think, have to teach it morals and ethics. And
yeah, that's it. Yeah. Parts work, I'm sure you've done parts work in internal family system. Yeah, it is. It's those parts, that's really what's underneath it. When I've found the methods, which I'm sure you have too, of, okay, here's the thought of, let's say, negative thought or choice. And then I go underneath and follow the thread to what's the source and the why. And generally, it's a part of my childhood self that didn't get love, attention, or support. And then I develop a relationship with that part of me and give it the divine mother, father love and support that I didn't get. And you want to know a crazy thing? I'm actually kind of, to admit this, but it's a little vulnerable. But when I was a child, I didn't have make-believe friends or anything like that. I spoke to my future self.
Interesting.
And I called him Big Trent, and he called me Little Trent. And we'd have full-on conversations. And a lot of times, Big Trent would tell me, I love you, you're perfect, and everything's going to be okay. It'll be challenging, but it'll be okay, I promise you. Over and over and over again. And guess what the number one message that I give to my parts now are?
The same message.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And I thought everyone had a big Trent. I thought it was a normal thing. I'm like, with my family, my grandparents.
It's a great idea. You know where you got that idea?
No. I literally heard it in my mind.
You could start doing that today. Think of yourself in 3 years with the big successful business and talk to them all the time.
Time's a construct.
But you really think about it, that's kind of a lot of, I think, healthy Christianity is doing with Jesus. You're talking to Jesus, and Jesus is telling you it'll be okay. I got you.
Yeah.
And that's part of what makes it work so well is you got one definitive figure that loves you unconditionally. And if you just talk to him, he's God embodied, he'll listen. So it gives some people a place to surrender when they can't handle it anymore.
That's it.
Yeah, because the idea of God, what I like to call theos in the Greek, or I got to learn the Aramaic version of that, but is a little less, a little more ambiguous, right? But Jesus gives it a form.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can relate with it, how our mind works in stories. And
yeah.
That's it. I love what you said, to know that we're unconditionally loved by God, no matter what. That gives us freedom. That gives us freedom, and that no matter what, we'll always be loved and accepted.
Yeah.
There's something about, a lot of my clients, what I've seen in men, and I'm sure you've seen this too, where they use guilt, shame, and blame to be the guiding barometer and leadership of their mind.
Oh, I see so many men doing that to each other, and women too.
Yes.
Doing it to men to each other.
Yes. So, and it starts inside themselves.
And the church.
Yeah.
I see a lot of churches doing that.
If you don't do this and this, like the book said, then you're going to go to hell and you're sinning.
Yeah, the hell is a powerful tool.
Oh my God. It's brilliant. So messed up at the same time. You're going to go to damnation, and to me, hell is...
And there's no out.
No, never.
Yeah.
Never. I actually went to...
The ultimate timeout. No.
Purgatory times a million in a really bad acid trip once, where my friend was supposed to give me 1 drop. He gave me 20. Jesus. He gave me a dropper full.
Was he high and did it, or
no,
what? He just did it to be.
I don't think he knew. I think he had misunderstood it to be 1 drop, and he did a dropper full.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, it was a very profound experience where I went to purgatory, which felt like 10 years. I almost took my own life. It was so bad. I wanted to get out of it. I had a knife, pocket knife, pulled it out. Thank God they saw it. They took it. I realized that when I was in this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be here forever. And I remember kind of holding myself. And then I realized, like, wow, okay, and it was basically the universe, everything that's ever existed, will exist, said, all the pain that's ever been caused was your fault. It's my fault. Because I wasn't perfect. I didn't do what I was told to do.
So many men feel that. Jeez, that's...
Yes.
The male cross to bear.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the switching point from ultimate hell, every cell in my body was the most uncomfortable I could ever imagine times a million. And it felt like I was there for over 10 years. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to be here forever, I'm going to give love to myself, because that's all I can do. The whole universe thinks I'm this horrible POS, and I cause all the pain, and all I have is the love for myself. So I remember kind of rubbing myself. I'm like, and I started to feel a little better. And then I remember, oh yeah, I've learned energetic medicine and work with doctors and medical intuitive, and I know how to bring in certain energies, work with God's light in order to heal. So I started to bring that in, and I felt better and better, and the pendulum started swinging and swinging, and it went all the way to the other side of a full Christ unity consciousness experience. And it was, and I'll pin that and say, did you have night terrors throughout your life and as a kid?
Typically in the morning. I'd wake up in terror sometimes, not in the middle of the night. Occasionally, pretty rare. Or, most of my terrors were the morning.
Wild.
Yeah, I had some really rough experiences with mornings as a child, where I'd see a clown walking in my room wanting to basically attack me, and I'd scream to my mom. She'd have to run in the room, and it would disappear when my mom came in the room. And my mom, everybody remembers me screaming, so I was awake.
Me too. Wild.
You saw a clown too?
No.
I was like, never met anybody that saw a clown. So
I would have this cloud, this dark cloud, come into my house night after night after night, from baby to just a few years ago. And it would immobilize me. I would immediately wake up, but I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. I couldn't scream. I couldn't open my eyes, but I was awake. I knew where I was. I knew how I was laying, and I felt it closer and closer, and then it would hover over my body and suck
that's crazy.
Life out of me, suck this fear. And then I'd wake up screaming. It finally let me go, and I'd scream, and my dad, same thing, where he'd run into the room and thinking I was getting stolen or something. And then it started happening so often. He'd tell his friends, he wakes up screaming like he's in an Alfred Hitchcock movie. And it happened so often that he would just, I remember, wake up like screaming, and I'd hear me go, "Shut the fuck up. There's nothing in your room."
There's a warm, fuzzy dad for you right there.
Yeah. So, but it happened for years, Ryan. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And into my 30s, I'm like, what the crap is going on? At homes, states, like and so I would have this sense, this intuitive sense, give it love. And for years, I'm like, no, I'm not going to give it love. That's what it wants. And once I do, it'll open my body up. It'll take my body over. And so finally one time I'm like, you know what? F it. I don't care anymore. This sucks. I'm done with this. So I remember breathing in love. And it was so weird because I saw this light forming in my heart. when I was doing it. I remember looking down, kind of, the crap is that? It says breathing in this love, and then I blew it out, and it went away. And that was the only time I could ever control it and get it to go away. And then it came back a couple days later, did the same thing, it was gone.
Never saw it again?
Never saw it. Well, it came back a hybrid, evolved version a couple years later. I'm like, oh, it's back? So I'm like, oh, no problem. And I kept trying. It was still there. It's like, no, sucker, I got you. That doesn't work anymore. It evolved and came back. Giving the breath of light and love to it didn't work anymore. And I'm like, damn, no, I had gotten rid of it. Why is it back? What do I do? And then I just happened to come across this YouTube video of this guy saying, it's like, this is actually a portal into, he was talking about, like, almost no one talks about this. He said, this is a way to lucid dream. I thought, well, shit, I want a lucid dream. My friend does it. He has like whole worlds and families, and like, I want to have that. He said, what you have to do is start desiring it, to want it, and then walk through it. And so it came back. I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, come here. I want you. I was like desiring it, like energetically. I couldn't move, but I remember being like, come here. I want you. Come here. I want a lucid dream. And then I felt it become afraid of me. Yeah. What is he doing? He's supposed to be afraid of me. And then it went away, and I haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
And what I realized, so tying the experience on LSD and this together, is recognizing that the only way to bring a light into a dark room is to turn on the light. So when we judge ourselves and we condemn ourselves and we judge and blame and guilt others, that's just bringing more light or more dark into a dark place.
Yes.
And the best thing that we need, and I use the word need very rarely and intentionally, is to love ourselves, is to love another, to receive love, to accept ourselves while holding ourselves high at the same time. Because these men have the thought of, when I tell them, love yourselves and accept yourself, well, then I'll just lay around and eat potato chips all day. If you really love yourself, you really think you're going to do that? Or are you going to go crush life? You're going to love yourself so much, you're going to do the best you can.
Yeah, it's an interesting statement, because I get the same thing as I tell clients if you really want to be successful, love the mundane, love the now, love this moment, not need to go anywhere. Like, I could be happy right now sitting here. And they're like, but then I won't accomplish any of my goals. And I'm like, do you think a tree stops growing because it loves the now?
Right.
It's the same thing. It's like, no, once you love the now, it's easy to grow, and you want to do it as a natural expression of life. Like, life wants to expand, life wants to experience itself, but it doesn't need to do it through pain.
That's it.
And
that's it. Ooh, I love what you've said there.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to do it from pain.
Right.
And what if the whole world and everyone knew that?
It'd be a different world. Yeah. Yeah. People are all out competing, trying to get, and they have this, and I have this belief that, and that's why I ask a lot of questions when you say love and hug, because so many people think when we say love, we're talking about that hippy dippy new agey, love everybody gets a trophy kind of thing. Right. And I'm like, no, tough love is just as much love. Paternal love is just as much love. Saying no, saying stop. Two men getting in the ring and knocking each other silly and then hugging afterwards, it's just as much love.
It is.
And
it is. My roommate and I got in a big fight the other day. A good friend of mine. He's more of
a physical fight, or?
No, it almost got to that though. We were like spitting in each other's face, and now we're stronger as brothers. We're closer because we know we can go there and trust each other in that.
Yeah.
And I'm just, gosh, Brian, what would the world be like if we loved ourselves into the life that we want?
Yeah.
And it is important to see that. Well, what does that mean? Or does that mean just hug everyone and trophies? And it's like, no, we need that, the feminine, which is the caring, accepting, loving, and then the masculine, which is, hey, I believe in you as a man, and I need you to watch my back and help our community, our tribe, and to be stronger. And hey, you drinking all the time or whatever it is not protecting the tribe. It's not becoming the best version of yourself. So we can actually inspire others through loving them and holding them to the highest possibility we see in them.
Yeah, you see it a lot in men who are in the military and in combat together, come back from being stuck in a foxhole together, being stuck in some type of combat situation. The bond they get is so strong, it's almost ridiculous,
Yes.
And that sense of trust, like one takes a nap while the other watches, and they end up having for each other in respect. It's just like, it's one of the tightest bonds you see in the world, and it's a very paternal bond.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. So this whole idea of love, I think it's one of the most powerful things. I was talking to Ani about it the other day, that's when I did the interview with him. And he, he said, and I thought it was fascinating because he said, I was sitting in a subway, and check out that interview if you haven't seen it. And I just thought to myself, I was miserable at the time, and I thought to myself, if I just could love everybody on this subway, what would that feel like? And he said, so I spent the next few weeks practicing loving everybody on the subway until I could finally do it. And then he said, I just started doing it all through New York.
Yes.
He said, I reached this point where I was just loving everybody all the time, and I was almost blissed out all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's exactly what Lester Levinson did. His whole life story, it was about how he practiced. He said, the only thing I can control is loving people, and I want to be happy before I die. He'd gotten a death sentence. He said the same thing. I'm just going to practice loving everybody. Walked around the city of New York, anything that triggered him, he would practice loving. So I thought it was really fascinating. They had this correlation of love. And then you go back to Jesus on the cross, and we were talked about Christianity. That's what I want to tie it back to.
Right.
What did Jesus on the cross, in the midst of all that brutal pain, suffering, being, spit on, flogged, pinned to a cross, what's the one thing he said? Forgive them, they know not what they did.
Yes.
He was demonstrating love in the midst of the worst pain possible. And I think that's ultimately one of the strongest demonstrations of love you can have.
Yes.
And again, Jesus wasn't always nice. But he was always forgiving and open-hearted.
Yep.
And so everything he said comes back to that type of love. Would you agree?
Yes, very much so. He was the lion and the lamb.
Yeah.
So he had
So well said. Yeah.
lamb love and he had lion love. What I've realized is that we really only have two emotions, love or fear. Underneath it all is love, even fear. Because I noticed my mind judging people as I drove down the street. Are they attractive? What do they have? All these interesting things. And it's a natural part of my mind trying to keep itself safe and aware. The thing is we can control it. We can lead our mind. And so what I started doing is praying for them. And it got me into love instead of fear, and it trained my mind to be in a state of love, presence, and compassion versus judgment, fear, and try to keep myself safe.
Yeah.
And then I noticed myself feel more love and more alive and more open and more connective, and to judge and do the same with myself, and to pray for myself when I felt judgment. And I feel like also knowing that we are all God's children. Every single one of us, the sun shines upon us equally. We are all loved unconditionally. We were all made on purpose. There is no mistake. And us as God's children are made perfectly. And so when I see someone that's forgotten that, I have compassion for them. When they are creating chaos in the world or in their lives, or that I still know underneath them is a child of God that's forgotten their way, because I was the same man, the same child of God that had forgotten. And now that I've done the work to get to this point, and by no means perfect, I can see the light of God in each person and truly care for them, truly see that they may have forgotten, but I haven't. And I feel like Jesus came here to remind us of that. And I feel like it's one of the best things I could do. So remind people that they are a child of God. They are whole, worthy, lovable,
That's true. And then when you get up into the upper states of emotions, you really begin to feel that. And then God can take care of you again.
Yes.
I personally believe, I'm kind of curious if you believe this, and I think we're going to have to close up here soon because of time constraints. But I definitely want to talk to you more about this and maybe another podcast down the road. But I personally believe that when we are at the bottom of the emotional scale, we're disconnecting from God. And a lot of the pain and the suffering we're creating, people love to say, oh, it's God's will, God's will. No, God, you disconnected and you said, I'm going to go my own way.
Yes.
And he says, okay.
Yes.
And now you have to do it yourself. And so if you're creating it yourself, it's like God is the water, and you unhook the spigot, and you can't water the garden anymore. And
that's it.
You're sitting there going, why is nothing growing?
Oh, it's the spigot's fault.
Right.
Like, no.
And
plug it back in.
And you see this in some people that don't even necessarily read the Bible all the time, but they're hooked up to source, receiving it from, because I think it's not the words, it's the energy. Like this will piss off a lot of people. The Bible's a beautiful book that should be revered. But if you get stuck on the words and you don't find the energy behind the words, you're not really practicing.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. It's underneath it. That's such an important thing for people to know. When we find these ways, which we've spoken of quite a few on this podcast, and there are many more, in order to get into the higher echelon of emotions, of energy, it could be measured scientifically. What we're broadcasting, what we're feeling, that we're plugged into God. And that when we disconnect and we judge, we blame, we shame, we fear, then we're on the lower scale and disconnected, just like you said. Sinning, to me, actually they found just means seen, which is when you're doing archery and you didn't hit the target, they would call it seen. So you didn't hit the target, you were off the target. So to me, it doesn't mean you're bad, it just means you haven't hit your target.
Yeah.
And there's ways through loving ways, to actually come back and hit the target over and over and over again, and to plug into that spigot and overflow with all the things in life, and to create the world and the life that we want. Because if we look at one singular cause of challenge in the world, it's fear.
Some people become so scared of sin they can't do anything. They can't take action anymore, so it's crazy stuff. I love it. Maybe we'll do a deeper dive into some metaphors from the Bible and play with some other spiritual concepts too. I'd love to do that in a future talk. I really loved having you here. Yeah. And I would love it if you shared your information with the audience. I know you got an Instagram, you don't have a website that people can find you, check out your stuff. Is there anything else that they can?
Yeah, so I created The Committed Man, and that my Instagram is the best place to get a hold of me right now, which is Trentamus Briggs, Trentamus Briggs. And I'm creating a few beautiful things, some groups for men to learn and integrate this together, one-on-one coaching support, and also some pre-recorded trainings.
Nice.
Giving the world and serving and helping men not make the mistakes I did and have a better life. And I've really enjoyed being here, Brian. You've been a man I've looked up to and appreciated for a long time. You've been spearheading actual integrated masculinity far before it was a cool thing.
Well, thank you.
Showing men how to get in their bodies and how sexy that is to a woman, and how being authentic and grounded and present is what third stage women are really looking for. High quality, amazing women.
And so becoming a third stage man is the best way to find them.
It really is.
Yeah. One last question. I've been asking clients this. And you can say anything you want, what's your definition of success?
Finding who one truly is, giving that to the world in a way that betters the world, and living a life where they're able to do what they truly wish to do moment to moment.
That's beautiful. That's what this podcast is all about. Mm-hmm. Awesome. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Same. Thank you.
We'll definitely have you back again.
Let's do it.
And for everybody out there, definitely when this comes out on YouTube, if you're on YouTube or some other platform that has a comment section like Rumble, definitely put a comment in there. I'm always looking at those comments, especially the first week, and I'll invite Trentimuss to come back and check out those comments at that time too, see what's going on in there, have a discussion, because your comments really help everybody to grow. The thing you're most afraid to say sometimes, it's like vulnerable for you, is often the thing that heals somebody else and also heals you. So I invite you to share, and that's it. Love you guys. Hope you have a beautiful day, and we'll see you in the next podcast.